This is an overview of the consciousness experiment for the month of April 2011. I spent all afternoon collecting the data, just the general data, not the many specific pieces of data I could get out of this, but just the general data. So, no events occurred 9 of the 27 days. Events did occur 18 of the 27 days. This is a huge increase. This is just a huge increase. Okay, so previously I mentioned that I was projecting at the rate of twice a week. This is 8 experiences monthly, and the percentage rate was 25%. This is increased to a rate of 66%. So that's huge. That's way more than doubling my rate of experiences. We'll see in the months to come if that rate is sustainable and if it will continue to grow. What else? Working from the wake state is bringing so much more into view. I'm very clearly seeing now the way my inner team is working with me. In particular, to establish my lucidity, to wake me up in there, and then to boost my wakefulness. I'm run through what I've come to begin calling etheric drills. I am taken into the etheric and put into a specific scenario situation, and it's a test to see if this will stimulate me to the point of lucidity. If I do wake up in there, they know immediately, and I'm immediately moved, pulled out of the environment. I'm then put into another scenario environment, and again, I wait to see if it brings me lucid. These are just back to back to back to back to back to back, just endless until I start coming lucid, and then start coming lucid more quickly until I finally, upon arriving, am alert to what's going on right from the get-go. So fun. But you know, I used to sort of hide the fact that I came lucid because I knew that I would get pulled, but I didn't really understand why. I would want to stick around and investigate the scene. And now I know what's happening, and so now I just sort of stay out into the space. Okay, I'm awake, and participate in the process. Now again, this not only establishes my lucidity, it boosts it and builds energy. And the whole process is sort of like the equivalent of pulling back on a rubber band. It's pulled back a little, and then a little more, and then a little more, and then a little more, and then whoosh. I'm shot way out there into a much wider reality system. So this is good to know. This is good to be seeing. I'm seeing things at a much deeper level, much more clearly than before. My connection with the larger reality system is deepening. I'm coming into a more tangible contact with it, and communications are beginning to happen as a result. Inner team members on subconscious and superconscious levels are coming through to help me. And again, this is in the form of communication. So I'll give a couple examples. These are just these are just wow. If you haven't checked the logs, again, you might want to check the logs. They don't go into a lot of detail. I mean, if I wrote everything out in detail, they'd be just pages and pages and pages. So I'm just sort of giving a general overview of what happens, you know, in the logs. But even in just that, there's quite a lot. But so a lot of these are absolute firsts. The other day, I was being pulled out of an environment, and my lucidity had been boosted to the point at which I'm being shot into extremely rapidly through the void into a wider reality system. And often these shifts are challenging, especially when they're very long and there's a lot of rotations and shifts in them. And at a certain point, I may begin to lose my stomach, like not be able to catch up with the speed at which we're moving. And this actually happened a couple times in a row. And so that morning, in the shift, I'm communicated with. A male voice comes through. Now my guide, my main guide, the main inner team member here working with me is a male. I've never met him, but I've become real close to meeting him the other day when he took me flying. Read that log. That's a really good one. But this voice starts coming through, explaining to me my trajectory, where it is I'm heading, and what it is within me that's drawing me there. This was not a hypnagogic. This was not hearing atmospheric sounds and conversations taking place in a landing location. This was a communication with me, to me, and it was interactive. I could communicate back with the voice, and it would come back with a solidly make sense reply showing me that what I just said was heard. And just wow. This was definitely to assist me through these shifts. So they did not slow or halt before the location that the inner team members had in mind for me was arrived at. Definitely helped, gave me a point of focus during the shift, and took my awareness somewhat off the sensation so I could relax more. And so, well done, inner team. And then, just this morning, I'm having an experience where I'm shifting consciously from a deep consciousness level. I'm witnessing my etheric room here materialize. And primary in my field of vision is the computer monitor. And from within the computer monitor, a man's face is gradually becoming clearer and clearer. And again, he's speaking with me. And I'm lucid enough to communicate with the environment. I point to the computer and I say closer, because I want to go through it into where he is so that he's directly in front of me. And I'm taken toward the computer monitor, and as soon as like my head gets up to it, I'm left to rest there for just a moment so that I can hear what he's saying more clearly. And he's again giving discourse. He's talking about my current state of health, my current bodily state of affairs. And as I'm listening to this, I'm moving through the computer monitor into his direct presence. But then I'm not allowed to, or I don't maintain anything further beyond this point. The next thing I know, I'm taking back into these interval spaces. That's sort of new. So I've done a written review of the month of April 2011. And again, I will link to the log down below so you can read it through in more detail. The summary I have is that it's very clear that adhering to my rule sets, together with being aware of my own questions and interests and relaying these to the larger reality system, is unquestionably leading exactly where I'm wanting to go, into being able to project at will. Definitely an extraordinary increase in the rate of events.